I was 2 weeks from saying I do. Then I found out my fiancée had been helping her sister cheat on her husband for months, and suddenly, I realized I was marrying a stranger. I'm getting married in 2 weeks, or at least, I was supposed to. I'm staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me like it might whisper an answer if I squint hard enough. My mind's been in this nauseating spiral since last night, and I haven't slept more than 30 minutes. I don't even know where to start. What broke me? What made me realize I might be about to marry someone I don't actually know? Sarah and I have been together for 6 years. Engaged for the last 12 months. The kind of relationship that felt so solid you don't question it. Not until it punches you in the gut so hard you start questioning everything. What was real, what was fake, and how long she's been lying to my face. It started so stupidly normal. We were at home, finally relaxing after weeks of wedding chaos. She was in the kitchen, humming and chopping onions like everything was perfect. I was out back fixing up this old wooden bench I'd been meaning to restore for the backyard. The weather was good. Birds chirping. One of those rare quiet evenings that felt like a gift. And then I got thirsty. I walked back inside, sweaty and tired, just wanting a cold drink. That's when I heard her voice and someone else's, coming from the kitchen. I paused in the hallway. Sarah was on speakerphone. The voice on the other end? Her brother-in-law, Marty. What I heard next made me freeze. He asked, "Hey, have you seen Evelyn? I've been trying to reach her, but she's not answering my texts." And Sarah, my sweet, loving, loyal Sarah, said, "She just left here. She should be home in about 30 minutes. Now, here's the thing, Evelyn wasn't here. I knew that because I hadn't seen her since the day before when she stopped by to help Sarah with some last-minute wedding decoration stuff. She wasn't in the house. No car in the driveway. No shoes by the door. She wasn't just leaving. At first, my brain didn't even register it. I walked into the kitchen like nothing was weird, grabbed a glass from the cabinet and asked, "What's that about?" Sarah, casual as ever, said, "Marty was just looking for Evie. She was already texting someone, probably Evelyn, and when I asked who she was texting, she said, just telling her Marty's looking for her." And that's when the wheels in my head really started turning. Why text Evelyn if Marty already said she wasn't answering her messages? Why lie about her being here? Why say Evelyn should be home soon unless she was trying to buy her sister time to get there before Marty noticed? My gut was a mess of knots, and the second I went back outside, I couldn't shake it. That seed of suspicion was growing by the second. I didn't confront her. Not then. I needed to know more. I needed to be sure before I tore my entire life apart. Later that night, around 1 a.m., I got up to pee. I looked over at Sarah, peacefully asleep, like she hadn't just lied straight to someone's face hours earlier. And I couldn't resist. I picked up her phone. We know each other's passwords. Never had anything to hide. Until now. I sat on the cold tile floor of the bathroom, heart racing like I'd just sprinted a mile. I went straight to her texts with Evelyn. It didn't take long. It was all there. Dozens, hundreds of messages. Explicit details. Sarah helping Evelyn plan meetings with some guy from her work. Talking about keeping Marty in the dark. About covering for her. Sarah giving alibis, running interference, even laughing about how easily Marty believed her. I scrolled for hours, my hand shaking, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Sarah, my Sarah, was helping her sister cheat on her husband of 5 years. And not just covering for her. She was active in it. Encouraging it. Laughing about it. There were texts talking about sex, talking about how pathetic Marty was, about how clueless he seemed. And through all of that, Sarah didn't say a single word defending him. She just kept helping. Over and over again. Like she was proud of it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch a wall. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. Then I sat there, in that dim bathroom, trying to breathe. Trying to wrap my head around what the hell I'd just read. I can't marry her. That's the only thing I know for sure right now. But how do I end it? How do I cancel everything? How do I tell people the woman I was going to spend the rest of my life with is a liar? And worse, she's okay with destroying someone else's family. I put her phone back on the nightstand like nothing had happened. Then I shut myself in my home office and just stared at the wall until the sun came up. Everything feels broken. And I have no idea how to fix it. I spent the next morning in a haze. Drank so much coffee I felt like I might vibrate out of my skin. Every cup just made me angrier, more paranoid, more nauseous. It wasn't even 8 a.m. and I'd already run through every possible outcome in my head 100 times. One thought wouldn't leave me alone, Marty. He deserved to know. I couldn't sit on this, pretend I didn't see what I saw. But how do you look a guy in the eyes and tell him his wife has been screwing someone else for 6 months and your fiancé helped? By 10 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I called in sick to work, got in my car, and drove straight to Marty's place. He was home. Said he'd just put their daughter down for a nap. I asked if we could talk in the kitchen, and he just nodded. The moment I sat down, I felt like I might puke. My palms were sweating. I hadn't rehearsed anything. But once I looked him in the eye, I couldn't hold it back. Marty, I said, I know this is going to sound insane, but I need you to trust me. I saw Sarah texting Evelyn last night. There, she's covering for something. I looked through Sarah's phone. I didn't want to, but I stopped. He looked like he already knew. He didn't interrupt me. Just sat there, dead quiet. Then he nodded slowly. I've had a feeling, he said. But every time I ask her, she shuts me down. Makes me feel like I'm crazy. That broke something in me. Marty's a good guy. The kind who works overtime, packs school lunches, and never misses bedtime stories. And he was sitting across from me, humiliated and heartbroken, because the woman he loved was gaslighting him into thinking his gut feeling was paranoia. I showed him the texts. Just a few screenshots I'd taken, but they were enough. He didn't cry. He just shut down. That blank look people get when the pain's too big to show on your face. Then he whispered, I knew it. We sat there for a while. No words. Just two guys realizing their entire lives were detonating in real time. Then Marty asked if I could help him figure out who the guy was. Evelyn's co-worker. All I had was a first name, Jake. That's it. Luckily, my job's in insurance. Specifically, fraud investigations. I know how to dig. I told him I'd do everything I could to find the guy. But more than anything, he wanted proof. Pictures. Something undeniable. That night, we made a plan. Evelyn had told Marty she was going out for drinks with her co-workers after work. Typical Friday evening cover story. I called up my old friend Mark, a former co-worker with a PI license and a camera. Told him I needed a favor. We met in a parking lot not far from Evelyn's office. One of those corporate strip malls full of dentist offices and consulting firms. I spotted her car. Marty still had a spare key. We installed a GPS tracker and a voice-activated recorder under the seat. Then we waited. When Evelyn walked out of her office about an hour later, she wasn't alone. 2 girlfriends. And a guy. Tall, younger, sandy blonde. She was holding his hand. I got the photo from inside the car. Busted. They all drove off together, heading into the nicer part of town. Landed at this trendy bar and grill. We parked out of sight. Sent Mark in first, he had no ties to any of us. Just some dude enjoying happy hour. 10 minutes later, he texted us, they're making out in front of everyone. I showed the message to Marty. He just stared out the windshield. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. Eventually, he said, I still want to know who he is. I nodded. It was a long shot, but I had an idea. I walked into the bar. Pretended to be surprised. Evelyn. Hey, what are you doing here? Everyone froze. Evelyn smiled, tense. Oh hey. This is my sister's fiancé. We're getting married in 2 weeks. They all said congratulations. I reached out to shake hands with the guy. Nice to meet you, I'm my name. He told me his full name. Not Jake. Different first name. But his middle name? Jake. Gotcha. I left a few minutes later and met up with Marty outside. Gave him the guy's real name. Jake was 26. Married. With a baby. This just kept getting worse. Marty didn't say a word. Just stared at the dashboard. I didn't know it yet, but that silence? That was the calm before the storm. Marty didn't speak the entire drive back to his place. His jaw was clenched the whole time, eyes straight ahead like he was trying not to crash through the windshield just to get home faster. I wanted to say something, anything, to make it better, but what could I say? Your wife's cheating on you. Your daughter's going to grow up in a broken home. And the worst part? My fiancé helped cover it all up. When we got back, Marty just sat in his driveway for a second, then got out and walked to Evelyn's car. He retrieved the GPS and voice recorder, said thanks without looking at me, and disappeared inside. I knew what was coming. That night, he was going to confront her. Alone. I drove to my buddy Mark's place and sat on his couch staring at nothing. The adrenaline had worn off, and now all I felt was dread. I'd helped a friend catch his wife cheating, but what now? I still had to face Sarah. And unlike Evelyn, she hadn't technically cheated. But I couldn't shake what I'd seen in those texts. She was part of it. An accomplice to betrayal. And that meant I didn't know her at all. Around 8:30 p.m., Marty texted me, "It's done. I'm at my parents' with my daughter." That was it. I stared at that message for a long time before getting in my car to head home. I didn't want to. I seriously considered just crashing at Mark's. But I knew I had to face it. Face her. When I walked through the door, I stopped cold. Evelyn was on our couch. Crying. Sarah was next to her, rubbing her back like a mom comforting a toddler. I didn't even see her car outside. Guess Marty took the keys. For a second, I thought about walking right back out. But it was too late. They'd seen me. Evelyn's eyes met mine and then darted away, ashamed. Sarah stood up and gave me this awkward, brittle smile. "Marty's divorcing her," she said softly, like she was breaking the news to a stranger. I nodded slowly and asked, "Why?" Sarah hesitated. Looked at Evelyn. Evelyn nodded, defeated. "She cheated," Sarah said. "With someone from work." There it was. Out loud. Finally. I watched Evelyn crumble into herself. That thing where your whole body folds like you're trying to disappear into the couch. Sarah kept patting her shoulder. I stayed quiet, trying to play dumb, but it was getting hard to breathe. After a moment, I asked, "Did you know?" Sarah looked me in the eye and just nodded. Like it was nothing. Like she was saying yes to a refill. "How long?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. 6 months, she said. Just like that. No hesitation. That hit me like a truck. Even Evelyn looked shocked she admitted it so easily. She jerked away from Sarah's hand like she was just burned. I leaned back, trying to process. Then I stood up. "We're not getting married," I said. No build-up. Just the truth. Both of them snapped their heads toward me. "What?" Sarah gasped. "We're not getting married," I repeated. "I can't marry someone who helps lie like this. Who enables this?" Sarah jumped up, arms out like she could physically pull the words back. "You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious." She started crying. Evelyn started crying. Sarah begged. Pleaded. "We've spent a year planning this. People have bought plane tickets. Deposits are paid." "I don't care," I said, my voice cracking. "This isn't about money or convenience. It's about trust. And I don't trust you." That's when I made my mistake. I said, "I already cancelled the honeymoon." That's when Evelyn lost it. "You son of a bitch," she screamed, and launched herself across the room. I barely got my hands up before she scratched me right across the face. It burned instantly. I stumbled back as she came at me again, hands clawed like a wild animal. "Evelyn, stop!" I yelled. Sarah actually stepped in and wrapped her arms around her sister, trying to pull her back. I shouted, "Get her out of here or I'm calling the cops." Sarah begged me to calm down. "She doesn't have anywhere to go. Marty took her keys." I didn't care. I stormed into my office and locked the door behind me. Then I did what I had to do. I called the police. My voice shook as I spoke to the dispatcher. My fiancée's sister attacked me. She scratched my face. I locked myself in my office. I don't feel safe. She asked if the attacker was still in the house. I said yes. She asked if there were weapons. I said no, but I made it clear, I had a video. I'd hit record the second Evelyn lunged. Every word, every scratch, every scream, it was all on my phone. 10 minutes later, I heard the knock. Firm. Rhythmic. Police? I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Sarah was crying, pacing like a caged animal. Evelyn was on the couch, arms crossed, face red and blotchy, still fuming. 2 officers came in, both male. One older, one younger. The older guy had this expression like he'd seen it all and hated every second. The younger one looked tense, like he was waiting for something to explode. I told them what happened. I pointed at Evelyn. I showed the video. The younger cop asked, "Do you want to press charges?" "Yes," I said without hesitation. He asked again. "Are you sure?" I locked eyes with him. "Absolutely. I'm pressing charges. I want her out of here." They both paused, exchanged a look, then nodded. They walked over to Evelyn, asked her to stand up. She didn't resist. But the second they cuffed her, she turned into a banshee. She screamed. Cried. Yelled Sarah's name like she was being dragged into hell. Sarah broke down, begging them to stop, telling them she was sorry, that Evelyn didn't mean it. I stood there frozen. This wasn't how I imagined ending my engagement. Watching my future sister-in-law get stuffed into a cop car while my would-be wife sobbed on the porch. As they walked Evelyn out, the younger officer circled back. "Is everything okay here?" he asked Sarah, voice cautious. She just nodded through tears. He wasn't satisfied. "Are you sure?" That's when I stepped in, firm. "If you want to dig for something, take it out to the lawn." My doorbell camera's rolling. That got me a glare. He opened his mouth, but the older cop pulled him aside. They murmured for a second, then left without another word, Evelyn still screaming in the back seat. The house was quiet after that. Sarah just stood in the living room, shoulders shaking. "I didn't know she'd do that," she whispered. I didn't respond. I didn't believe her. I just went to the guest room and shut the door. I lay on the bed fully clothed, staring at the ceiling, the spot where the fan should have been but wasn't. My heart was still racing. My face burned. I touched the scratch under my eye and winced. She'd drawn blood. I didn't sleep. Just drifted. In and out of weird, anxious half-thoughts. Flashes of the bar. Evelyn's face. Sarah's voice telling Marty that Evelyn'd just left here. That little lie that cracked the whole world open. I woke up at 11 the next morning to the smell of bleach. The entire house sparkled. The floors had been scrubbed. Counters wiped down. The toilet bowl smelled like mint. Even the fridge looked organized. Sarah had cleaned the house like she was trying to erase a crime scene. She hovered nearby, watching me like I was a bomb. I finally said, "We need to finish talking." She nodded, quietly. I motioned to the couch. She tried to sit next to me. I didn't stop her. "We're not getting married," I said again, gently this time. She blinked hard and nodded again. "But what about us?" she whispered. I couldn't answer. I told her I wasn't sure. That I'd seen a side of her I didn't know existed. That the texts, the cover-ups, the things she said about Marty, they changed how I saw her. She didn't argue. She just cried. Then came the twist I didn't expect. She looked at me, trembling, and said, "It's not fair." "What's not?" I asked. She stared at me, eyes red, voice shaking. "You were sexting that Mandy girl on Instagram last year." I got over it. "Why can't you get over this?" My heart stopped. What the hell was she talking about? I had no idea who Mandy was. And I sure as hell never sexted anyone. Then it hit me like a freight train. She must have seen something on my computer. And she thought I was the one behind it. But it wasn't me. It was my brother. I just sat there, blinking, completely stunned. "Mandy? Who the hell is Mandy?" Sarah stood up, pointing her finger at me like she'd been holding this in for a year. "Don't play dumb. I saw the messages on your Instagram. All the flirty crap. I saw everything." I stood too. "Sarah, I don't even use Instagram. I don't follow anyone besides my cousins and co-workers." "What are you talking about?" Her voice cracked. She called herself Bimbo Wife Mandy. Does that ring a bell? It didn't. Not at first. But then, like a sledgehammer to the chest, I remembered something, last Christmas. My brother, his wife, and their kid stayed with us for almost 2 weeks. He had jet lag the first few nights and I told him he could use my office PC if he couldn't sleep. I felt the blood drain from my face. "Oh my God," I whispered. "What?" she snapped. I looked at her, feeling like the floor was falling away. I didn't message anyone. But my brother. He used my computer when they visited. That has to be it. He must have logged into his account. Sarah laughed bitterly, eyes glassy. "Oh, come on." "No, seriously," I said. "Think about it. When did you see those messages?" She paused. "January. I was going to send myself some documents and opened Instagram by mistake. It was still logged in. And there were messages from her? Nasty ones." I nodded slowly. "And you thought it was me?" She hesitated. Then nodded. I didn't want to believe it. But I saw the name. The messages. The dirty pictures. I grabbed my phone and pulled up Instagram. You can check right now. I don't follow anyone named Mandy. My account's clean. But she just stood there, tears falling again. I deleted everything. I couldn't look at it. But you stopped. So I forgave you. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This whole time, she thought I'd cheated. And never said a word. Why didn't you confront me? I asked. She hugged herself. Because I was scared. Because I thought I'd lose you. I told myself it didn't mean anything if you stopped. But I didn't do anything. I yelled. She flinched, and I instantly regretted raising my voice. I took a breath. I'm sorry. I don't know how we got here. She wiped her eyes. You think I'm a liar now? Because of Evelyn. But I thought you were one too. For a whole year. I couldn't speak. My brain was caught in this weird whirlpool of betrayal, misunderstanding, and just sadness. It was like we were both grieving different versions of our relationship. After a long silence, she whispered, "So what happens now?" I didn't have an answer. I sat back down, rubbing my face. I need to call my brother, I finally said. Because if he used my computer to sex someone while staying under my roof and got me blamed for it, I'm gonna lose it. She just nodded and walked away. I grabbed my phone and looked at the clock. It was just past 3 a.m. in Australia. I didn't care. I dialed anyway. He answered on the third ring, groggy. "Hey, everything okay?" "No, not even close," I said. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." Okay? Did you log into Instagram on my PC when you were here last Christmas?" Pause. Then a quiet, "Yeah." My heart pounded. "Were you messaging someone named Bimba Wife Mandy?" Another pause. "Dude," he said. "How the hell do you know about that?" I nearly threw the phone. Because Sarah found those messages and thought they were from me. "You used my computer, left it logged in, and never said anything." He was quiet. Then said, "I didn't think it mattered. I didn't know anyone would see. I was bored, okay? It was just dumb stuff." "You made me look like a cheater," I snapped. "She's been holding that over me for a year. You wrecked my relationship without even realizing it." He started apologizing, saying he never meant for that to happen. But I'd already tuned him out. Because I was realizing something even worse. Sarah and I had both lost trust in each other. Over two lies neither of us actually committed. I hung up the call and just sat there, stunned. My brother had logged into his burner Instagram, flirted with some random plastic-looking woman, then left it open on my computer. And Sarah, instead of asking me about it, carried that betrayal around like a secret scar, assuming the worst and burying it deep. That's what hit me the hardest. She assumed I was that kind of guy, and I assumed she wasn't. And somehow, we were both wrong. I went to the kitchen. Sarah was there, sitting at the table, clutching a mug of tea she probably wasn't even drinking. Her eyes were red and puffy, and her hand shook. "It was my brother," I said. "I just talked to him." She looked up. "He used my computer when he stayed with us last Christmas. Logged into his Instagram." I had no idea. But it was him. He admitted it. Sarah didn't say anything. She just blinked like the wind had been knocked out of her. "I didn't cheat, Sarah," I said, my voice low. "I never would. Not on you. Not on anyone." Her lips parted like she wanted to say something. But no words came out. "I know you didn't mean to lie," I added. "But you still let me walk around thinking we were solid, while you were quietly holding that against me. And then you helped Evelyn lie to her husband for months. That's not just protecting your sister. That's choosing to stand on the wrong side." "I didn't think it would go this far," she whispered. I laughed bitterly. They never think that. That's the problem. She set the mic down with a little clink. "So that's it? You're just walking away?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. This was the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. But now I didn't even know what was real between us. "I don't know," I said. "All I know is, we can't get married. Not now." Sarah flinched like I slapped her. "We spent 6 years building this," she said. "And you're willing to throw it away over?" "No," I cut in. "You threw it away the moment you became Evelyn's accomplice." The room went silent again. "I don't hate you," I added. "But I can't look at you the same way anymore. I can't marry someone I can't trust. Not after this." She didn't fight me this time. She just nodded, her whole body deflating like someone let all the air out of her. Then she said something I didn't expect. I think I knew this would happen. That stopped me cold. "What?" She looked down at her lap. "I kept telling myself I was helping Evelyn for the right reasons. But deep down, I think I knew I was ruining something. That if you ever found out, it'd be over. Then why do it? She shrugged. Because I couldn't stand being the bad guy. Not to Evelyn. Not to you. But now you're the bad guy to both of us. She nodded again. I deserve that. I didn't know what to say. There was a long pause. Then, quietly, she asked, "Are you going to tell your family?" "Yeah," I said. "Soon." "And the wedding?" "Cancelled." Everything. Tears started falling again, silently this time. I stood up and turned to go, but she stopped me with a question that felt like a knife in the ribs. "Do you think we'll ever come back from this?" I didn't look at her when I answered. "I don't know." Then I went to the guest room, shut the door, and cried into my pillow like I hadn't done since I was a kid. The next few days felt like walking through wet cement. Slow. Heavy. Every step a fight. I called the venue first. The woman on the phone was overly sweet, probably trained to deal with panicked brides, but she froze when I said, "The wedding's off." She asked if I wanted to reschedule. I said no. I wanted the date cleared. Permanently. Then came the vendors. Photographer. Caterer. DJ. Florist. Each call chipped away at something inside me. Like I was deleting pieces of the life I thought I was about to have. I couldn't even say a "we're not getting married" out loud without my throat tightening. I just kept repeating cancellation like it was a spell that might make the pain vanish. I sent an email blast to my friends and family. Kept it short. Just said the wedding was off, personal reasons, thank you for understanding. I didn't mention Evelyn. Didn't mention Sarah. I didn't have the energy to rehash the mess yet. Some people called. Some texted. Most were polite. A few weren't. Sarah's mom left me a voicemail calling me heartless. One of Sarah's bridesmaids DM'd me, "I hope you know how much she's hurting." I didn't respond. I wanted to say, "Yeah? Well, Marty's hurting too. You know, the guy your friend helped betray?" But I just left it on read. The only person who really understood was my brother. Yeah. The same one who'd unintentionally started a year-long misunderstanding with his shady Instagram session. Once I cooled off and stopped blaming him, we talked again. He apologized like 10 more times and offered to fly back out just to support me. I told him not to. But I appreciated the offer. He said, "At least come to Florida. Bring your niece something from Uncle Sadboy." I almost laughed. First time in days. The truth is, I was broken. Not just because the wedding was off, but because the whole foundation I built with Sarah had collapsed. And the scariest part? I didn't even see it happening. I stayed in the guest room. Sarah stayed in the master. We passed each other like ghosts, barely speaking, always exhausted. She cooked for herself. I ate takeout. She left for work early. I stayed late at mine. It was like we were roommates with a shared tragedy and no roadmap. Then one night, for days after cancelling everything, I came home to find her sitting in the dark. She'd lit a single candle and was holding a box. "What's that?" I asked cautiously. She slid it across the table. It was her engagement ring. "I think it's time," she said. "We should talk about what happens next." My throat dried up instantly. "I don't want to stay here if it's not going anywhere," she continued. "And I don't want to make things harder for you." I didn't know what to say. I sat down slowly, the silence between us thick and strange. "I've been looking at apartments," she added. I looked at the ring. It felt heavier than it looked. Like it had soaked up all our memories and was now some cursed relic from a life we couldn't get back. "You can stay as long as you need," I finally said. She shook her head. "That would just make it worse." Then she stood. "I'll be out by next weekend." She didn't wait for me to argue. She just turned and walked to the bedroom. The door clicked shut behind her. And I was left alone at the table, staring at a circle of gold that no longer meant anything. I didn't cry. Not that night. That came later. After she moved out. After the last box was gone. After I walked back inside and realized the silence wasn't temporary anymore. It was permanent. The day Sarah moved out was cold. Not weather-wise, it was sunny, the kind of afternoon that would have made for perfect wedding photos. But the air in the house? It was frigid. She didn't hire movers. Just borrowed a friend's SUV and packed slowly, methodically, like she was afraid she'd forget something. I didn't help, and she didn't ask me to. Every time she walked past me carrying a box, she'd glance at me like she wanted to say something. But she didn't. Neither did I. What do you say in that moment? Thanks for the memories. Sorry it turned out like this. Remember when we almost had a forever? Her last trip was quiet. She came back inside, alone, holding her phone and a manila folder. Her hair was tied up, face bare. I barely recognized her. Not because she looked different, but because she looked distant. Like the Sarah I loved was already gone. She handed me the folder. It had receipts, contract cancellations, a breakdown of who paid for what. I wanted to be fair, she said softly. I'm not asking for anything back, just wanted you to know it's all settled. I nodded, flipping through it like I was reading someone else's tragedy. She looked at me for a long time. You were good to me. I couldn't respond. She swallowed. I was stupid. I know that now. Still, I said nothing. I really did love you. That's when I finally looked up. Then why did you help her lie? Her eyes welled. Because I didn't want to lose my sister. But I lost you instead. She stepped forward, like she might hug me, but stopped herself. Then she set her key on the kitchen counter. And just like that, she left. No goodbye. Just the sound of the door closing behind her. I stood there for a while, staring at the key. Everything felt too quiet. Too empty. Too final. That night, I sat on the couch with a bottle of whiskey I hadn't touched since college and let the silence swallow me. No clinking utensils. No soft humming from the kitchen. No wedding plan spread across the dining room table. Just me. And the echo of what could have been. The next few days were robotic. Wake up. Work. Eat. Sleep. Repeat. I avoided everyone. Didn't answer texts. Ignored calls. I think my mom was worried. I saw her name flash across my screen 6 times in one day. I didn't have the energy to lie and say I was fine. But I also didn't have the strength to admit how hollow I felt. Until Marty texted. Hey. Can we meet up? We sat outside a coffee shop that weekend. It was our first time seeing each other since that awful night at his house. His daughter was with his mom. Evelyn, he told me, had moved out the week before. She's staying with her cousin, he said. Not sure how long. Doesn't matter. I nodded. We sat there in silence for a while, watching strangers pass by with their lattes and dogs and smiling kids. Finally, he looked at me and asked, you ever think maybe we dodged a bullet? I gave a half smile. Feels more like I took one in the chest. Yeah, he said. But imagine if we hadn't found out. That sat with me. All the anniversaries. The shared mortgage. The kids. The slow decay of trust. What if I'd married Sarah and only found out years later that she was capable of that kind of deception? What if Marty had never known about Evelyn and raised a daughter with a woman who lied to his face for half a year? Yeah. We dodged something. But it still hurt like hell. Marty leaned back in his chair. I'm not okay, he said. I nodded. Me neither. He raised his cup. To not being okay. I raised mine too. And to never settling for anything less than real again. We clinked plastic lids, both of us pretending that felt like progress. Maybe it was. I didn't really understand how grief worked until I watched someone leave who was still alive. The first week without Sarah in the house was like walking through a museum of our life together. Her side of the bed? Perfectly made. Empty spot on the sink where her toothbrush used to sit. Mocking me every morning. And the fridge still had that weird organic milk she insisted on buying. I left it there until it expired. Couldn't bring myself to throw it out sooner. I deleted our wedding website. Pulled down the save the dates from the fridge. Returned a stack of unopened gifts to the post office. And somewhere between all of that, I started remembering how I used to be before her. Before 6 years of shared holidays, dumb traditions, and synchronized routines. Before I built my world around someone who let it all crack beneath me. My family took the news better than I expected. Mostly. My sister offered to fly out just to keep me company. My mom cried when I told her the whole story. Not because she was sad about the wedding, because she was angry. She kept repeating, that girl stood next to Evelyn and said nothing. What kind of person does that? I didn't have an answer. Still don't. What made it worse was seeing how many people in Sarah's life still supported her. Her cousin posted some cryptic nonsense about people making mistakes and needing forgiveness. One of her bridesmaids DM'd me again, this time saying, I hope you two find your way back to each other. I blocked her. Because here's the thing people don't get unless they've been through it, it's not just the lie. It's the trust that dies with it. That silent erosion of safety you didn't know you were clinging to until someone rips it out from under you. And once it's gone, everything feels unstable. That's how I lived for the rest of January. Floating. Trying to work, trying to sleep, trying to not lose my mind every time I walked past a photo of us on the shelf. I started putting them face down. Then in a drawer. Then eventually in a box in the garage. And still, it wasn't enough. Then came the kicker. Evelyn started posting again. Not directly to me, she wasn't that bold. But I saw the screenshots. Mutual friends sent them. Vague status updates. I guess some people would rather destroy a family than mind their own business. Not everyone deserves forgiveness. But that doesn't mean I won't rise again. You think you know someone, then they record you and send cops to your house. Every post was like a knife. A reminder that the person who blew up her own marriage still couldn't take any accountability. That somehow, I was the villain for uncovering the truth. But the one that really got me? A story where she showed off a book titled Forgive, Not Forget. With the caption, working on myself. Not for them, for me. I almost laughed out loud. Not for them? She hadn't even apologized to Marty. Hadn't even acknowledged what she put him through. Or what Sarah did to me. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I was just tired. Tired of carrying this weight. Tired of being the one who uncovered it all and still somehow got left holding the broken pieces. That's when I knew something had to change. I needed a reset. A real one. So I took a week off work. Turned off my phone. Packed a duffel bag. And drove. No destination. Just music, highways, and the kind of silence that feels like freedom instead of punishment. I slept in cheap motels, ate greasy roadside burgers, and let my thoughts wander through every memory like I was flipping through an old yearbook. And by the time I made it back home, something in me had finally shifted. Not healed. Not fixed. But lighter. And that was enough. When I got back home, the air felt different. Lighter. Quieter. Still. The kind of stillness that used to feel empty, but now felt earned. I walked into the house, dropped my duffel on the floor, and just stood there. No ring on the counter. No Sarah pacing with her phone. No Evelyn lurking like a storm cloud. Just me. And the sound of my breath. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I had to brace myself. The next morning, I brewed coffee in silence and stood barefoot in the kitchen, watching the sun creep across the floor. It hit me then, how peaceful it felt. I hadn't had peace in months. Maybe longer. Not since the day I walked in on Sarah lying to Marty, not since I unlocked her phone, not since everything snapped in half. I checked my email. The wedding planner had finally responded. She'd refunded what she could. Offered condolences. Said she was sorry it didn't work out. I deleted the email. No hard feelings. But I didn't need any more sympathy. What I needed was closure. So that weekend, I made one last drive. To Marty's. I brought a six-pack and knocked on his door. He opened it, still wearing the same faded hoodie he always wore on Sundays, and gave me a tired smile. Beer at noon, he said. I figured it's noon somewhere. He laughed and stepped aside to let me in. We sat on his back porch, the same place he told me once that he suspected Evelyn was hiding something. That conversation felt like it happened years ago. Now, he looked older. Not tired, exactly, just more weathered. Like he'd stopped waiting for apologies and started focusing on what came next. She still hasn't said a word, he told me. No apology. No explanation. Just passive-aggressive posts and silence. Sounds familiar, I said. He nodded. You still talking to Sarah? I shook my head. She texted me last week. Just said she hoped I was okay. I didn't reply. Good. We sat for a moment, sipping in silence. Then he looked at me and asked, do you regret it? I didn't answer right away. I regret that I didn't know her better, I said finally. I regret that I didn't see it coming. That I trusted her so much, I never even questioned the lies she was telling right in front of me. He nodded. Yeah. Same. But do I regret ending it? I added. No. Not for a second. Marty smiled. Same. I stayed for a while. We talked about work, about life, about how weird it is to rebuild when the dust hasn't even fully settled. He showed me a drawing his daughter made, stick figures of them both holding hands, big grins on their cartoon faces. She didn't know anything about what her mom did. She just knew her dad was still here. still showing up. And that mattered more than anything. When I left, he hugged me. Just a quick, brotherly squeeze, but it felt like something solid. Like we'd both made it through the storm. I got home, opened my laptop, and started writing this story. Because I needed to get it out. Not for pity. Not for revenge. Just to let it go. If you've read this far, thanks for sticking with me. I wish I could say there was some big, happy ending. That I met someone new, or that Sarah called and we worked it all out. But that's not the point. The point is, I got out. I walked away from something broken before I locked myself into it forever. I trusted my gut. I uncovered the truth. And I chose myself. It doesn't make the pain disappear. But it gives it meaning. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to start again. This time, without lies. Without secrets. Just me. And whatever comes next.